Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn, and on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business career. And as always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. And on today's show, we have our special guest, Mark McFatridge. He's the owner of Quade, where they provide executive peer groups. So it's great to have you on the show, Mark. And I want to start off with asking you a question that I always love starting with. And here's the question. If you had a time machine, were able to go back to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Yeah, Jason, first and foremost, thanks for having me on. That's a great question. Going back, I started Quade about 4 years ago. So I think for me, I wasn't thinking big enough when I first started it. Quade for me was supposed to be a lifestyle business, and I was going to just run a couple of peer groups myself. And when I knew that there was a need, but I wasn't thinking big enough. And so I think if I had to go back, I would have set out from the jump the foresight to grow bigger and have a bigger impact on people that as we're doing now.
I love that. What do you think is one of the bigger challenges on that balance of maybe not thinking big enough, but then also sometimes people go in with, um, let's say, unrealistic expectations of the business. Where's that balance, do you find?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, you've got to take a look at and do market research really of what is the capacity that's out there, right? I mean, there's need and there's capacity. And I think just having a realistic approach to how those two blend and what is your willingness to invest time and resources to get after it and just be realistic. And whatever that is, you're going to have to like I said, invest time and resources to really get after what you want. So I think
Yeah.
that's the balance to me.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any particular one of the other questions I love to ask, Mark, is this: looking back over the course of you running your business, with all businesses, we have challenges and ups and downs, but is there one particular challenge that really stands out to you? And if so, what is that? And what's the number one lesson that you learned from that?
Yeah, I think being really focused on who you are serving and making sure that you're taking the time to serve those people, right? And whatever that is. So if you take the time to identify and really focus and clue in on solving somebody's problems and going after it and understanding them and really focusing on that, I think to me that's been the biggest learning for me is not everybody needs an executive coach, not everybody needs an executive peer group, not everybody needs whatever. And so you've got to really flesh out and make sure that they understand what they're getting into, instead of just kind of pushing your will on them. So I think that's a big learning for me is it's more than just the sales cycle for an executive peer group should be long because you've got to make sure that you're right for that person. You've got to make sure that they're right for you, and that your needs and services align.
Mm, yeah, love that. Um, in what you do with peer groups, what do you find is the biggest benefit to people being involved with a peer group like that?
Yeah, great question. So just so for the record, I've been in a CEO peer group for 19 years and it changed my life. And the
Mm,
reason it changed my life is the role of the CEO is unlike anything else, right? Like every decision you make impacts your company, your family, your employees and their family, your customers and their family, your suppliers and their families. And there's no other role that exists like that. And so it's I mean, you talk about loneliness or being on an island, that's really true. And nobody understands that like other CEOs. And so the benefit, certainly you're going to pick up different strategies. Certainly you're going to pick up, ways to go about things and how you handle things and all that kind of stuff. But man, the real impact of it is being around people that know exactly what you're going through, and you're able to get their support. You're there. You're going to receive them pushing you. You're going to benefit. I call it accelerate your experiences from them, and you're just going to get exposure and support and be held accountable like you've never been held accountable as a CEO, because you're in a room full of the people that are experiencing the exact same opportunities and challenges that you are.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Is there key things that people should look for in a peer group like that? And the reason why I'm asking that is this. Um, there might be a lot of different types of peer groups, networking groups, we might
Yeah.
call them different things, but are there any key things that people should look out for or maybe be aware of before joining something like that?
Yeah, I think you've got to be really aware of what you want out of it, right? Because you can have single issue peer groups, whether it's industry or revenue size or whatever. Quade really is about having diverse circles. So we'll have a mix of revenue size, we'll have a mix of industries, we'll have a mix of demographic diversity within our peer groups, because I think that's when you get challenged, and that's when you get asked questions that you're not familiar with, and you get exposure to different people and different backgrounds and different things and different thinking. And so I think you've got to be really aware of what you want out of it. If all you want is industry strategy and to be able to talk the same language, you need to look for that. And Quaid would not be great for that, candidly. I'm sure there are industry peer groups that would be better for that. We're about being the whole person and being vulnerable and trusting and learning. And it's more than just a business exercise, right? It is about your whole self and growing and being better and being pushed and being asked questions that are uncomfortable and being exposed to different backgrounds and experiences that other people have. So I think you've got to be really clear on what you want out of it. That's number one. Number two, the peer group leader, we call them circle directors. Those circle directors, their experiences are really important and valuable. And so I think people come for the circle director because of their experience and their background and the way they communicate. But then the third one, people stay because of the people that are in their peer group. Again, we call them circles, we call the members allies. They stay for the allies because, as you would guess, you get to know each other really intimately in these peer groups. And so that's what keeps people coming back. And that's what makes the renewals happen. And the longevity of staying in these circles is all about the people that are in that circle.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. For when people are looking to level up, and it kind of goes along with the peer groups we're talking about, but just generally as well. What are some of the key things when people are looking to level up in their business and who they're surrounding themselves with, um, to look out for in individuals or the networking opportunities that people are creating? Because I know oftentimes when people say, hey, I want to level up, I want to meet more people, but they don't know where to find them.
Mhm.
And obviously peer groups are great for that, but any sort of tips around that for people who just don't know where to find the kind of next level people that business people they're wanting to be involved with?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm biased, but I do think peer groups are a really good way to do that, because if you're investing in yourself and joining a CEO peer group like Quaid or any of the others that are out there, that already separates you from others, right? That's already up. Would you say upscaling the people that you're hanging around? The cool thing about it is, while we are specifically not a networking group, your network expands exponentially because the networks of the allies in your circle become your network. The
Mm,
experiences of the allies in your circle become your experiences. And so the acceleration of your network and your experiences it's exponential, right? I mean, because now you're around 9 or 10 other people on a regular basis who you get to know intimately, who you build a trust with, who you're able to be vulnerable with, and it is amazing. And so again, it's not, we specifically say this is not a networking piece, but your network grows, your business grows because people know you and trust you because of the intimacy that you've developed. And all of a sudden they're saying, hey, I could use your services, or a friend of mine could use your services, or somebody that I came across the other day could use your services, and all of a sudden you're growing your business like crazy, even though you're not in a pure networking group like some others that are out there.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, really powerful way to do that. Um, what are your goals over the next 2 to 3 years, Mark? Like, where do you want to take your business? What are you looking to achieve?
Yeah, great question. So we are currently rolling out a licensee model. So um, we're recruiting people that we can train to run their own Quaid circles in their own communities. And so I want to add 75 new circle directors every year beginning in 2026. We're running it in a cohort model. We're bringing people together in person for a 2 day training with a bunch of support going forward so that they can be successful in running their own peer groups. And so
Mm,
if we had 75 circle directors every year and each one of those adds 2 to 3 circles that they're running, this community of CEOs and entrepreneurs grows amazingly. And, in 5 years, I'd love to have 5,000 members within the Quake community that are all leaning on each other and benefiting from their experiences in the network. So that would be our goal. That's where we're going, and that's how we're going to get at it.
yeah, I love that. What an amazing goal. So here's a question that sometimes people feel a little bit uncomfortable asking, or not asking, answering, because it looks at like where's the challenges. So what's great goal, but what's the number one challenge you feel that you could face to actually reach that as well?
Yeah, I think it's the education, right? Like peer groups are not typical, especially for the people that we serve really well. And I say that companies that do between $2 and $20 million are kind of our sweet spot. That's who we can have an impact with. If you know those people are, they're growing up and they're learning what it's like to run a real company. When the founders are typically folks that are doing everything. They know every client, they know every employee, they sign every check, they do all the stuff. And for them to evolve, they've got to invest and put themselves in that visionary seat where they're looking out and building strategic partnerships and strategic relationships and not doing more and more of, they're doing less and less of the day-to-day work that they started this thing for. And, so for me, the biggest challenge is that education of what a CEO peer group can do for people. That's the biggest challenge is just getting that education out there.
Yeah, yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, just educating the CEOs on what the peer groups are good for, how powerful, help them to be able to reach some of their own goals as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. Most founders they don't invest in themselves, right? It's all about their
Mm,
company. And if you take a look and you invest in yourself and you're a little bit selfish to, write the annual check and spend 4 hours a month basically with your peer group, you're going to grow personally and professionally. Your business is going to grow. Your family, you're going to become a better parent, a spouse. You're going to be a better community person. Like all
mm,
this stuff. But founders are inherently risk averse and want to invest in their company, and they see investing in something like this as being selfish and investing in themselves. And that is
mm.
not true, man. It is the opposite. If you take care of yourself, everything else falls into line and everything just it goes, it's a rocket ship.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, man. That's fantastic. Well, for anyone that is looking to learn more about what you're doing, what is the best place for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, QuadeCircle.com will lay out everything for you. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Mark McFatridge. Quade LLC is where you'll find us on LinkedIn. Those are the easiest way. Really available. Love to talk. As you learned, I'll talk to anybody about anything. So I have a blast doing this and really proud of what we're building and how we're building it and the people that we get to work with every day. Man, it is awesome.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being on the show and just sharing some great insights there for us all. And as a reminder, for everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and that will be in the show notes below.